Can hear you breathing, John.
Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable. We used to have a professional show until Jason decided to stick around for 5 years. Let's see, what are we? We are a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, you can send questions or comments to our Facebook event page or on the chat running alongside this YouTube video. So welcome to both our YouTube and Facebook live streamers tonight. Good evening, good evening. You know me, my name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in good old Fairfax, Virginia. Next up, let's do Juan for his introduction. I like catching this guy off guard.
Here it comes, here it comes.
Beep.
Good evening, everybody. Juan Sepulveda here from Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 in sunny Kissimmee, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Juan. You may think he's turning off his AC. He's actually cursing every time, and we just well-timed the beep sound. All right. Good, clean Juan Sepulveda. Next up, Robert Johnson. Good evening and hello.
Hello, Robert Johnson, past master, Waukegan Lodge 78, current sitting secretary, Space Novum, past district deputy guy, and podcast host of Whence Came You. Thanks.
Thanks. And last but not least, we have hashtag No Skulls in Masonry, Jason Richards.
Sorry, I was just blown away by the fact that you and Juan coordinated your dress tonight.
Ooh,
So,
twinsies.
Yeah, they get the same shirts from Kohl's and they try to color match. It's cute. My name's Jason Richards. I'm past master Vacation Lodge number 16, Clifton, Virginia, member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C.
Awesome. Thanks. And before we get into tonight's episode, I do want to again give a shout out to all the patrons who've been supporting the show over the past couple months. This has been very valuable because tonight we are actually using new tech and new software that you have helped us keep this thing going. So thank you for your support of Masonic education that lasts for many, many years. Now, tonight on the Masonic Roundtable, we're going to try something a little bit different. We were talking a little bit in our private chat in our green room that usually, while we may have some suggestions, we tend to keep the show very positive. And yeah, so tonight we're giving ourselves a pass on that. So a one-night pass to switch things up a bit and really discuss what grinds our gears about Freemasonry. We really haven't discussed any of these things privately, so it's going to be live for all of us. But the key takeaway in this round robin fashion is to think about, these little things that have been getting under our skin for quite a bit. And then, the best thing that you can do if you're providing any sort of critique or criticism is what, Jason? Offer up a
solution or a mitigation strategy to the problem.
Yes. So we're going to be that guy, and we're going to come up with a solution. So not to complain, not to be grumpy past masters for some of us, but more importantly, to say what grinds our gears and maybe offer up a thing or two that we could try throughout Masonry to make those things a little bit better. All right. So I'll go first just to mix things up. And the first thing that I want to talk about, something that really grinds my gears, is the fact that when you join Freemasonry, and you look forward to education nights, why is it that either the education is either at a level below the degree that you're in or completely open in the first place? I'm not saying that Masonic education always needs to be tiled, but what really grinds my gears is when I go all the way to a Royal Arch chapter or a or any other side degree, and I get at most Masonic education that I could have heard in my Blue Lodge. Or even worse, we'll have a speaker come in and talk about Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's Fund. Cool, bro. Like, I could have done that at home and watched a couple of YouTube videos that present how the charity is formed and what it stands for and where all the money goes. So, what really grinds my gears is the fact that the level of education doesn't rise to the type of Masonic experience that you're in. Have you guys experienced this?
Yep. Firsthand, I will tell you personal story that jaded is no starstruck. I don't know what the term is, right? Like when you first become, I didn't know anything about invite bodies, and then I got invited to the AMD, and they gave me this like cryptic letter, and they were like, fill out all your stuff and tell us who you are, and I'm going to propose you at the next meeting, and it's going to be great, and blah 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 blah. It's education only. I was like, this is it. I have arrived. Invite only body, 27 members per council or whatever. Then you get
just
in.
Education.
It's just education.
Just education.
Yep. And then you get there, and number one, it is 27 members with a caveat that lets you have as many members as you want. So it's not really that exclusive. Number two, when they said it was education, right? You go all the way out there. And so I'm a member of a chapter that is like 60-mile round trip for me. And it's always held at a restaurant, and that restaurant is like in a back private room. And the restaurants that have back private rooms in the Chicagoland area are mostly like cultured restaurants. And when I say cultured, I mean they're like old time Chicago stuff. So like a Greek restaurant or like a Bohemian German restaurant or something like that. And so the food is not always great. It's like wood panel city, right? Like, the kind of place I'm talking about. It's not the kind of place you usually take your family because you're like, meh. And your wife's like, that place. And you get there and you went all this way for education, and somebody stands up and decides that his presentation for the AMD is going to be holding up old newspapers that he's collected with famous headlines that are wrapped in cellophane to protect them. And he doesn't even have anything to say. He just holds them up and says, this is the headline from when JFK was shot. That was a crazy day. Here's when this happened. And I was like, this just happened?
This is happening right now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I'd
long
like
way
to
around.
show
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
my stamp collection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've
dude,
been there,
no.
done that, seen that.
Nope.
Not that there's
Not what
anything
I'm
wrong
about.
with that. It's just not Masonic education, and it's not at the
Masonic Week of all places.
level. Yes, exactly. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Big frustration.
All right. So that's what
So-
grinds my gears. What I would offer up is think through why your appendant body exists. Think about what is unique that you can only get in your appendant body, and offer up education that is special and unique for those members. Because you're really not adding any additional value to what the Blue Lodge experience or the Profane experience is if you don't consider what's unique about your body. Jason?
I was going to say, what grinds my gears are brethren who believe that Masonic education is only valuable if it's tiled Masonic education. So
So just the opposite.
yeah. So there are a lot of times where I've seen criticism even of the Masonic Roundtable, where folks are like, well, all the really good stuff, can only be, you can't even talk about the really good stuff. And the fact of the matter is we can. and do talk about the really good stuff in Masonry. So while I see John's point, having Masonic education be relevant to the body you're attending, I think that's great. But at the same time, I go almost to the opposite end of the spectrum, where I say, Masonic education should be written for the widest possible audience. So I think if you're doing a paper, unless you're doing on a very, very small sliver of subsection of Masonic and esoteric topics, you should really be able to have two versions of every paper you write. You should have the profane version that's open to anybody, and then you should have the Master Mason tiled version of the paper that's open just within a tiled lodge. And that's what I try to do with a number of my presentations and programs, is have a presentation with a few choice omissions, and be able to fill in those gaps more appropriately within the confines of a tiled lodge.
So what do you think, guys? Do you try to make your research as accessible as possible? I'm going to reach out to Juan and Robert to share their insights.
Yeah, I would say that most presentations can be easily modified to be acceptable for either a tiled meeting or not. Most, I would say, at least the ones I've witnessed, the majority of them. Now, if it's a presentation centered on ritual or centered on something that is just too close to the secret work, then of course that can't be remedied very easily. And we did have a recent example where we had Frater O had prepared a presentation for Mid-Atlantic Esotericon, and it was going to contain a lot of things that were going to be, exclusive just to Master Masons. But with very short notice, he had to scramble and adjust it, because then the event was open to other degrees, and it was more of an open presentation. So that kind of like made things a little bit difficult for him, but he was fast on his feet. He was able to still give a good, enticing presentation. And perhaps the things that he omitted that were exclusive just for Master Masons, though there could be an aside. So maybe in the dining hall after the presentation, he can go and expound on some of those topics. So, I do like Jason's suggestion. Try to have an alternate version of your presentation, just in case you need to adjust it last minute and not sacrifice the quality of it.
I think that's an interesting just concept in general, right? Because each jurisdiction labels, well, technically, I mean, if you're proficient in your state, you know what the secrets are. And in Illinois, those secrets they are pretty confined to a few things that you would really never bring up anyway. So almost every single presentation I do is open for the public, because I don't see a clear delineated line of anything I'm ever talking about, even in esoterics, especially esoterics, because esoterics isn't even taught. Right. So it's open ground. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of leave everything open, and I might not say something pertaining, in a Master Mason degree or something, but whatever.
Right. So, Robert, what really grinds your gears?
Well, it just so happens I have an entire list here.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Do one at a time.
So, yeah. I think this is a pet peeve of mine. What grinds my gears is part-time secretaries. So I'll give you a wonderful situation, and I guarantee every one of you knows some facet in your life where this has happened. In Masonry, this is the situation. You just have a riveting, wonderful stated meeting. And maybe in some states like Virginia, where your guy is like required to basically read the minutes before you even leave. But in Illinois, we take our notes, we take our minutes, and then those minutes get sent out, and then they're approved at the next meeting. And of course, we have electronic means we can send out a draft. It has to say draft, and then after the meeting, they must be reprinted with the word final at the top. They go inside the minute book, signed by Secretary and Worship Master. What I have a problem with is we'll be at a stated meeting where there is a lot of information being conveyed. Dates of degree work, dates for special events, dates for you name it, committees on investigation, all this stuff. And then what happens is 4 days before the meeting, the next one, so it's been at least 26 days, your secretary decides to send out those meeting minutes so that you can accept them or review them before the next meeting in 4 days or a day. And half the time, the stuff inside those minutes has already passed. So anybody who didn't make it to that meeting, maybe for whatever reason, has no chance to go to anything that was discussed because those minutes didn't go out the next day or within 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So my general rule is minutes go out within 48 hours of the meeting. Okay, I've been a secretary, I don't know, only 5 years now, but maybe that's just me being zealous and still into the game. Let me just say this. I love being a secretary, but it is a lot of work. So that's really one of the things that really bothers me is part-time secretaries who they're only doing the job of the secretary for an hour before each meeting, and maybe 20 minutes afterward. And then they collect this like glory or something, where all these guys think that this guy's like the greatest thing in the world. And your secretary is a great guy. It's a hard job. But the fact is if you've got a secretary who's really just doing this part-time gig, right? And most people probably don't even realize their secretary's doing it like this because he's doing a great job. But really, if you're a secretary and you know what you're doing, don't do this. Don't do this stuff. My workaround or my fix for this is get a new secretary. Just kick them out. And
totally not controversial at all. Yes. No hard feelings.
Secretaries are usually in place for a long time.
Yeah, they are.
That's like an unwritten kind of weird rule, and it's totally wrong. Like on every level, you should be 5 and done. Maybe
term
6.
limits. Let's install some term limits.
Term limits. Yep. Because otherwise, yeah, this is a whole nother issue, and I'm not going to get into it. But that's it, right?
You can grind that gear later.
Yep. Secretaries who are not doing their job in the interim. You have 30, 29 days between each meeting, and you should at least be getting everything done by that next meeting. I don't want to hear at the next meeting, I called out for a quote. Dude, you had 29 days. Bye. Like, that's just so bad. Get a new guy. That's it. That's what grinds my gears.
Get rid of the bum. All right. Next up.
Are we not discussing that?
Oh, you go for it.
Go for it, Jason. Open discussion. Go.
It doesn't. That doesn't just pertain to Blue Lodge too. I've seen some abysmal secretaries, independent bodies as well, and in those cases, sometimes it's even worse because when you have a smaller body, you have a lot smaller cash flow, and so the secretary, of course, is the one who's actually handling the money. The treasurer just takes it to the bank. But the secretary is the one, generally speaking, actually collecting it. And when the secretary is just not doing his due diligence and not keeping records and whatnot, it can really throw a smaller body just upside down. And so it's really critical. Whoever your secretary is, they have to be on top of their game, or else they will actively damage your lodge.
Well said. Kick him out. Okay, next up we have Juan Sepulveda. Hey Juan, what really grinds your
Hey.
gears?
You want to know what really grinds? Wait,
There you
you
go.
want to know what really grinds my gears? Poor initiatic experiences.
What do you mean?
What?
I've never seen that.
That never
Oh
happens.
no, I've only heard of these. And here's the thing. The very first thing that really grinds my gears is there not being enough solemnity in the degree process. I wholeheartedly believe. Bingo.
Was that a goat?
It was a damn goat. The solemnity of the degree, I think, is an important component that cannot be neglected. Having the goat jokes, having people chit-chatting on the sidelines, or giggling, or too many people prompting what the words are. Brothers, we have a marshal or a master of ceremonies, whatever you want to call that person who holds the little stick. That person should be the designated prompter, and that's it. That should be the person who helps you when you forget the words, right? Poor initiatic experience. Another one is not setting the mood. When we go through the different degrees, we realize that the pot of incense has something to do with the ambiance of the spiritual side of a person. When you talk about lighting is crucial. Like, if there's no need for hospital fluorescent lights to be on at full power for an entire degree. There's no reason. Even people who have poor vision or have difficulty walking, they don't need all that light to be safe. The burning tapers, having perhaps some mood lighting, some Marvin Gaye playing, not Marvin Gaye, but some
Lodge music. Yes.
some lodge music. That's what I meant. Some having some sort of solemn music playing in the background doesn't require a huge investment. It doesn't require a lot of effort, but the effect that it can have on the experience of that man can be incredible. And keep this in mind. This is the first and only time in that man's life that he's going through that degree. Only chance. And if you rob him of a good quality experience, it should remain in your conscience until you put down your working tools. That's what I gotta say about that.
I'll drink to that. Cheers. Salute.
I'm just still thinking about, the third degree kicking off, and all of a sudden, like, Barry White just starts playing the lodge. Candidate's freaking out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you just hear, I can feel it, right? And the guy's like, oh God.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
What did I get myself into?
I'll let you into a little behind the scenes for me. When I was in the preparation room for my entered apprentice degree, I was sitting with a man who was being initiated at the very same time, and he would not be quiet. They gave us instructions to be there and to ponder and whatever it was that they told us to do. And I took that to heart. I really was preparing my mind for whatever was going to happen to me. I was really trying to get my mind in the mood. And this man was talking about traffic on I-4. For those of you who haven't had the privilege of driving in the most dangerous road in America, Interstate 4 in Central Florida, this man was just talking about traffic and talking about this and that. And it was one of those moments where in my mind, I was like, oh my God, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. But after that, of course, we didn't have to be together for much longer, and the rest of the experience was memorable. Thankfully.
Well, that's good. Mm-hmm. All right, so looks like it's back to me. Mike is conspicuously absent. So let's see. What really grinds my gears? Number 2. Related to education not being at the level of the degree that you're in or the body that you're in is lodge communication. Lodge communication of knowing, letting your membership know what's going on, and specifically what's going to be on the table for presentations that night. If I am going to make the effort to, leave my family, leave my work, leave whatever to go to lodge, I kind of want to know that it's going to be something other than, cold baked beans and, a guy reading a paper about George Washington, right? I want to know, is it worth my time and effort ahead of time? And so the hard part about this is that even with the power of the internet, lodge communication, like outside of its like circle of friends, is really, really hard. It's great when you have, I can hear the responses now. Well, our lodge uses this app, and our lodge texts all its members. Great, cool. What if I'm not a member? Right? You can't. Where's the public list of all the things that you had going on? This is something that I worked on a couple of years ago. Was MasonicFinder.com. No longer works, but it was trying to solve that problem that I was having. Is if I would travel to St. Louis, for example, I want to know what's going on, like without having to know a guy or having to like go around to maybe find lodge Facebook pages or web pages, and maybe they've been updated, and maybe you'll find out what they're going to talk about that night. I want to get the Masonic experience I want, and if that is not publicly known about what at least the topic's going to be, I'm not getting the most out of my Masonic experience. Or there might be opportunity cost. If I don't know that the other lodge that meets the same night in the same district might have a better presentation, maybe I want to go to that. I don't know. So what really grinds my gears is not having a plan, not executing that plan publicly, so that way non-members can really know what events you have, and more specifically what education topics you're going to have, because nothing's worse than running late from work, leaving the family, driving a long way to lodge, and it's totally not worth your time when you're there. Yeah. Have you guys been there? You guys done that? I mean, I know, Robert, you were just talking about your AMD experience. It would have been nice to know ahead of time before you made that drive.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I love the guys at my AMD chapter, but the direction of that chapter is not really centered around education at all. So just last week, I wasn't supposed to even be on the show, but I was on the show because I chose to come home instead of drive an hour and 5 minutes to the AMD meeting from work.
I'm glad you said that the way you said it, though.
Prior experience.
I'm glad the way you said it.
Experience.
It has nothing to do with the brothers. It's just what's set up for getting the agenda public. Exactly.
Yeah, that content is not. There's no equity there for me. And I'm supposed to be going into like Sovereign Master or something next year, right? And okay, get ready, because I'm gonna just turn this battleship around in this bathtub right away.
Good.
But yeah, I was on the show instead of going out there, right? It's just, where am I getting my education, right? Well, TMR is top notch, right? I'm not going to miss an opportunity to spend time with my best bros, even if it's just online, over eating boiled chicken and family style mashed potatoes. I'm good. I'm busy that day.
To hear a guy complain about the traffic on I-4, right?
You got it. And it's like I said, it's an hour and 5 for me to get to my AMD chapter from work, and that's
Yep. Okay, Jason, do you have another one queued up?
Oh yeah.
All
Oh, yeah.
right.
I have a couple more.
A couple more. Well, what else grinds your gears, Jason?
You know what really grinds my gears? Brethren who inject their sectarian religious values into the ecumenical organization that is Freemasonry.
Well, that's it. Good night, everybody. We've got to end the show early. Get the shepherd's hook. What do you mean, Jason?
What do I mean? Freemasonry is an organization that is of brethren who are pulled together by a belief in God, and we make very certain to say Freemasonry is not a religion, but it is inherently religious. It's spiritual. We all have to have a belief in God, and whatever belief that is up to you. And Freemasons are really, really, really good at just throwing that out there. It's like, yeah, whatever God, yeah, it's fine. Until you get into the dining hall and the chaplain's like, God bless us for this food in Jesus' name, amen. Or we take other examples like and I know we beat this to death on the show, but in the cases of Tennessee and Georgia, banning homosexuals from lodge, as seeing that as a not even a universal Christian belief, but a sectarian Christian belief at that. It would be like someone who is Jewish being steward of the lodge and saying, I'm not allowing anyone in this lodge to eat pork or mix dairy with meat because that's against my values. So we're going to have chicken and green beans and that's it. And some people might think that that's fine. But the fact of the matter is I've seen so many cases in my 7 years as a Mason where the peace and harmony of the lodge has been greatly disturbed by someone touting their sectarian religious belief and trying to insert that into their brethren's lives. And we are an organization built on tolerance. We have a low bar as far as religious beliefs are concerned, and that is so that we can enter into the religion within all men agreed, however you want to state it. We try to come together harmoniously, and that's why we say, we're a brotherhood of men under the fatherhood of God, and that's where it stops for us, and that's where I think it should stop. You can have your own religious beliefs; that's perfectly fine, but the lodge is not the place to proselytize. And unfortunately, I think a lot of brethren can't seem to get away from that.
Boom.
Well,
Mic drop.
yeah, it is hard, Jason, and I think you can't not say it's mostly Christianity, because it is. And I think there are huge contributing factors, right? And that's that there are Christian only organizations within Freemasonry. There are Trinitarian only religions within Freemasonry. There are it leads up to all of that. And you had mentioned that it's such a big problem, and it is a problem, even though some guys out there may be thinking, well, I've never heard anybody say anything about it. And I'll tell you usually why that is, because the personality type of somebody who doesn't complain about it, but might find it offensive or troublesome, isn't the kind of person who's going to complain about it. And the thing is also, the reason why we might bring it up on the show is because, say what you will, People don't like it when celebrities or anybody, like you have a celebrity who gets on an award show and then gives some kind of political jab. Well, anybody with any audience, you kind of have a duty to sometimes stand up for some things, right? And say something if you need to. And so, yeah, I mean, like Jason bringing it up on the show, I mean, there's a bunch of people watching live. It looks like, 50 people or so are watching live just on YouTube. And that's an audience. And I think it bears bringing that fact to light sometimes. Think about, there's a brother I talked to just the other day who is not Christian and had to be like, they had to hold an entire like almost trial thing or whatever to see if his religion was amenable with Masonry.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And the people who are making those decisions are, largely practitioners of evangelical Christianity. And there's nothing wrong with that. I cannot stress that enough. It's just, that's what it seems like in the craft. We have to deal with that at time to time.
And yeah, I want to make sure folks know I'm not bashing Christianity. I'm not anti-Christian,
right,
whatsoever. Christianity is my own faith system that I've had for the vast majority of my life. But it's when it begins infringing on other people, and an organization that was specifically designed to bring people together is what kills me, because I just see it as rude.
Word up. Next up, over to Robert again. Robert, what grinds your gears?
Consulting the list. I said in the last one, I alluded to, like, I got a quote. I got one quote in the last 30 days. I was going to talk about soul-sucking committees basically not doing the diligent work in between meetings, but we already kind of talked about that. So my other one is this idea that we go after members. Lodges want more members. And we say, well, why do you want more members? And Grand Lodge wants more members because they want more Masons. And they want more Masons. And guys will say they want more Masons because they want per capita, because they need to survive. Freemasonry needs to survive. This is the reason for more members. And when you take a step back and you look at that, like that's another thing that grinds my gears, is we're looking at more members as solutions to two things that 99% of Masons in the United States anyway will look at more members as solving two problems: A, Grand Lodge, and B, survival of Freemasonry. I don't have too much, I guess, of a problem with those ideas, but what grinds my gears is the idea that you're missing the entire point. I don't want more members because it saves Freemasonry. I don't want more members because it saves Grand Lodge. I want more members because it saves humanity. That's one of the biggest things that this fraternity is supposed to do.
Yep.
Is to turn in regular Masonry, regular Blue Lodge craft, male craft lodge, to take good men and make them better men. Or if you're, a woman in a woman's lodge, or whatever the case may be, we're supposed to be using those teachings to make you better, to go out into the community and be an example and do the good work. And that's the point, not for your lodge to survive. So getting those two things mixed up sometimes sometimes, all the time, grinds my gears. I don't like it when we're saying we need more members and people just attribute that to growth to save a lodge, or to save Freemasonry, or to save a Grand Lodge, when really we should be looking at it as more members. Even though I don't really care about having more members would increase the likelihood and ratio of positive effects on the planet. provided those members are true to the Masonic ideals.
No disagreement. Not at all. But I'm glad you clarified it, because we do talk about quality over quantity. You know, through many episodes we've had, we've talked about we're not dying, we're refining. We've had those discussions, and so again, it bears repeating to clarify that the goal is not to grow Masonry. The goal is to change the world. Awesome. Okay, it's looks like it's over to Juan now for his next installment of what grinds his gears.
You want to know what grinds my gears?
I want to know what grinds your gears, Juan.
Reluctance to change. Okay, wait. Let me calm down here so that I can project adequately. When we were starting to consider this topic, one of the things that I started thinking about was just the very expression of grinding gears. If you think of a mechanism, a machine, this creation that is supposed to run smoothly for whatever purpose, either the creation of a widget or anything. When the gears start grinding in it, something is creating friction. It's preventing it to move forward at its most efficient way. And this right here, reluctance to change, is one of those things that really prevents progress. It really prevents the machinery to run smoothly. I love what RJ just mentioned about that. What really matters is that we actually help make a difference in society. If we put to practice the lessons of Masonry into our lives, and then by example, help other people do the same, we have this ripple effect on our community that really can have a lasting effect. And one of the things that is creating this lack of growth and this difficult process that we're going, where we're declining in membership, it has to do a lot with that reluctance to change. And I'll give you an example. Um, let's say new brothers that are part of the lodge, they come in and they get really excited about doing some enhancements to the lodge, whether it is to paint the walls or replace the art in the walls, the window treatments. Maybe they, some of them work in a flooring company and they want to help put down some flooring that is nice. And you can have some voices of dissension that would say, no, but the problem is that we have to do this and this and that if we're going to go that route. And many times they put unnecessary burden into the decision making to actually enhance the place that we're going to spend time in. Other times it's more, if someone wants to incorporate music into the ritual, or someone wants to I don't know, advice or recommend that brothers dress nicely when they're coming to lodge, and just that resistance to change. But we don't have to do that, because that's not how we've been doing it in the past. That's not what this lodge has been doing. Yeah, it isn't, and that's part of the reason why the lodge is in trouble. That's part of the reason that you have 100 chairs. You have capacity to have 100 men. The most exemplary men of your community could be occupying each one of those columns. Yet, you only have 15, 10, 12, barely enough to have enough men to sit in the chairs. Part of the reason is the reluctance to change. If what we're doing now is not working, is there room for improvement? I would say yes. Now, instead of coming here and complaining, what is a solution for this? And I had a brother here. Sorry, I forgot who it was, but one of the brothers in our YouTube comments in the YouTube chat, and I appreciate you guys participating there. He said, whatever you guys are saying is nice, but there are brothers in there that they don't want to change. And here is this harkens back to one of the episodes that we had where we were talking that you need to be able to give a pitch or propose something in a way, just like when you go in front of the sharks at Shark Tank. Only the prepared, only the people that know their numbers, the people that know the ins and outs of what they want to materialize in their business, those are the only people that garner the respect of the deciding members of the Shark Tank. By the same token, this is no different. And I know some people are going to, pucker up because I talk about business, but it is no different. If you have an idea that you are convinced is good and you're convinced that it's going to have a positive impact on the craft, sell it adequately, bring it before the people that perhaps could present some resistance, and present it in terms that they're going to understand. Make sure you do your homework beforehand. Has it been attempted before? What was the outcome? How long did it last? What are you going to make difference to make sure that whatever you're trying to implement is going to stick? Because that's one of the biggest objections to change that I find in lodges. Oh, well, we tried that a long time ago and it didn't work. Oh, yeah? With beepers? You tried it with beepers? Or did you try it with an email provider? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think that's the solution. Make sure that you know your numbers, be prepared to either to the entire lodge or to the individual brothers that are going to be the ones that will be at the biggest opposition. You need to get them in your side. You need to get them in your camp to advocate for the change that you want to see in lodge.
I gotta say, Juan, I died. Like, I don't know if anybody could. The camera was just on you, but I was literally almost crying when you said, "We haven't done it this way," or we don't do it this way. He's like, "Yeah, I know."
That's what's wrong.
Like, that's apparent. We've never not read out of the book. I know, that's apparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, dress nice, whatever. Perfect.
Cool. All right. So I think we have enough time to do a speed round. So pick your favorite one of your last list. And I will go next by saying, you know what really grinds my gears? It's when people don't understand the why of Masonry. There's a little, it's not even a meme, it's actually a screenshot taken out of a book, specifically Masonry Defined, printed in 1924, where people have underlined certain sections. That's been going around Facebook lately, where it talks about there are thousands of Masons who can repeat the ritual but have no conception of what it all means. And so what really grinds my gears are those Masons who don't take that extra step to really figure out what it's all about and why they joined Masonry over the Elks, the Lodge, the Moose, the Rotary, any other service organization, which is great. Why Masonry? What is it all about? Why are we here? Why do we have the ritual? What does it mean? And so, one of my favorite sayings is, it's an adaptation of a Mark Twain quote, but for Masonry it says, you become a Mason twice, once when you're raised and once when you find out why. That's what grinds my gears. All right, Jason?
Wow, you know what really grinds my gears? When brethren and lodges don't take good care of their historical artifacts.
Ooh, yeah.
That's huge. You see this gorgeous 150-year-old Grand Lodge charter, and it's nailed to a wall in a frame without any glass with a flood lamp pointed right on it. You've seen it. And you get up to it and you can't even read it. It's so faded. And this is something that just kills me, because your lodge history, once once artifacts like that are gone, there's no getting them back. And I don't think that this is anything malicious. I think it's more so that lodges don't have the understanding of what's necessary and what's needed to preserve their history,
Right.
and a lot of them don't allocate the budget in order to be able to do so.
Solution, go check out, there was a Pennsylvania Academy of Masonic Knowledge a couple years ago or 6 months ago where they actually had an entire lecture on preserving Masonic history, so definitely worth checking that out. All right, Robert, what really grinds your gears?
What really grinds my gears? Bulk bought Maxwell House or Folgers coffee. You know what? I deserve at least 1850 Folgers Black Gold. Darn it! Just kidding.
We do Costco.
Who doesn't? I would say, in general, a poorly kept lodge, right? So if you have a really cool building, and you go inside, I get to the meetings for my lodge early, and we don't have like a caretaker. So the guys who get there early, we clean up. Like I'm vacuuming the lodge. But there are certain elements of a lodge where I think sometimes. Do you guys have people in your life, like family members, that you kind of don't want people to meet, right? Maybe you're a little embarrassed by them, or maybe your wife says, "Don't bring people over today. I can't believe you let this person come in the house. Our house is trashed." And usually my excuse is like when people come to my house, I say, "Sorry about the mess, but we still live here."
Yeah, sorry, I've got 4 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think you used that excuse with me like last week.
I probably did. Because when you come over to my house, I got toys everywhere, right? I got 4 kids and video games and all that stuff. But the thing that is kind of embarrassing to me is a poorly gross bathroom. Like, the urinal stalls that are metal that have rust all over them, and that's pee rust. That's pee rust. You could just take those off the hinges and then paint them and put them back up. It takes like an hour. So I'll give you that one. Let's clean up,
But
right?
where
I don't want
would
to
the
walk in the
brethren go to the bathroom?
Wherever they want. But just give me an hour. Paint those stalls or make it not smell like a porta potty when I walk in. I mean, it's not a porta potty. This is the bathroom in a building. It shouldn't smell bad. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just me being elitist. I like a clean bathroom.
How many of your lodge bathrooms have you gone into where you've noticed there's a marked difference between the men's bathroom and the women's bathroom in the lodge?
Oh my gosh! Can all of them be counted?
Yeah, or there's like a couch in the ladies' room, and I'm like, nice. But it's like a couch from like 1963 with the plastic on it.
Well, that was the last time someone used that bathroom.
Probably. Yeah. So bizarre.
So bizarre. All right. Last one for tonight.
That's new episode. Lodge bathrooms.
Lodge bathrooms.
That's like a Johnny Royal special.
With pics.
Written all over it.
Yes.
Yes.
We need the Johnny Royal narrated, fully documented. We'll do it in a Ken Burns style documentary. We'll have the moving pictures. That'd be great. All right. Last one, Juan. What grinds your gears?
You want to know what grinds my gears? I love that, though. Brothers who have no human touch, no tact, no civility, no manners. That is what grinds my gears. And this kind of like goes hand in hand with the reluctance to change. For the brothers out there who have been in Masonry for a while, who feel very comfortable in their chair sitting next to their brethren, if someone proposes some change because they believe it's positive, don't chastise them for taking the initiative to think outside the box or to try to bring solutions to problems that they see in lodge. Instead of turning to the brother next to you and start, complaining, wait until after the meeting or stand up and express yourself respectfully to that brother. Like I said in one of the topics in the Gentleman's Brotherhood is that you can have courage and courtesy. You can be courageous and say what you have on your mind without being a jerk. You can say to your brother, I appreciate the zeal with which you bring this to the lodge, but allow me to remind you, we attempted this at this time, and the reason it didn't work was this. Do you think we can do that differently? Instead of just saying, bursting out and saying something negative that is going to perhaps make it less likely that that individual is going to try to think of solutions for your lodge. Don't forget, whether you've been in Masonry for 50 years or you're just 3 years there, the man that's sitting across the room from you in the other chair, he's your brother and deserves your respect, even when you disagree with their opinions, even if you disagree with their solutions. They deserve respect. So be dignified in your approach and speak to them like a man in private, or if in public, do it without embarrassing yourself.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, so let's do this thing. Let's wrap things up with shameless plugs, final thoughts. We're going to do the quick version. So, Robert, go. I said quick version.
September 21, Raleigh, North Carolina. John Ruark, Robert Johnson, esoteric stuff. It's going to be fun.
It will be fun.
WCY now has a Patreon also. It just mirrors our PayPal subscription model. So we refine that also. So everybody out there who is a producer level gets a pin. I never did that before, and shame on me. So everybody already who's a producer level will get a pin in the mail very soon. So just want to thank all of you guys for helping support the Whence Came You Masonic Podcast, which is my podcast. I do Sunday nights, 9:30, every Sunday night. So it's ready for you on your Monday morning commute. I love Mondays, but some guys don't. And if you don't, maybe this is a reason to like Mondays.
It gets me through the week.
And then MasonicConChicago.com. So 2020, September. Check out the website, MasonicConChicago.com. Get on the email list. Get all the speaker updates and things. We just announced the second speaker, which is Todd E. Creason. So we've got Tim Hogan and Todd E. Creason. Tuesday we'll release the next speaker. So get on that email list now.
Nice.
And that's all I got. Thank you
Cool.
very much for listening to these gripe sessions. And I was told never to say P-Rust again. So P-Rust.
P-Rust. Prust. All right, Juan. Shameless plugs. Final thoughts. Go.
Okay, very briefly, in Florida, if you are anywhere in the vicinity, I'd love to see you in one of the events that I have coming up. And if you want the details and the links to get tickets or reserve your space, you can go to thewindingstairs.com. It's in the very front page, so you can see the dates. But I'm going to be at Open Table Lodge. So this is open to brothers and their visitors. And this is going to be at Harbor City. It's put together by Harbor City Lodge, but it's going to take place at their local shrine, at the Azan Shrine. So for the details, go to the Winding Stairs. That's October the 8th at 6:30. And then on the 22nd, I'm going to be at the Masonic Education Speaker Series in Tampa. So this is going to be Hillsborough Lodge. And I'm going to be speaking at both of these events about things that are practical that you can then take to your lodge and put them to practice to make a real difference. So I'd love to see you there. October the 22nd, this is going to be at Hillsborough Lodge number 25 in Tampa, Florida. And finally, I'm opening enrollment again for an updated version of Applied Freemasonry. If your concern is putting to practice the lessons of Masonry in your life, you'll want to be a part of this. All the details at appliedfreemasonry.com. Good evening, brothers.
Thanks. Alrighty. Jason, final thoughts.
All right, Saturday, October 12th, I am going to be speaking at the Maryland Masonic Research Society. So it's going to be in Maryland, in the DC metro area. I'm going to be giving an open version of my NOAA presentation where I focus on comparative history of catastrophic flood myths and oral traditions from across the world. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a really interesting group. It's a very eclectic mix of folks. It's completely untiled. So they have men and women there, Masons, non-Masons, Masons from other jurisdictions. It's going to be really neat, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's my last big event for the year, I think. But looking forward to next year.
Can I just say, if you have a chance to make Jason's presentation, do it. It's baller. I really enjoyed it.
I've spent a lot of work in revamping it this year, and I really like how far it's come. But if you're going to be in Tampa in March or other places next year, the chances are good that you'll be able to see it. So looking forward to hanging out with everybody. Appreciate everybody watching week after week. It's a pleasure to interact with all y'all on Facebook as well as YouTube. So keep coming, keep suggesting topics. We really appreciate it.
It almost sounds like we need a central calendar for the Masonic Roundtable. If you want to come meet one of us, you can check the calendar, see what's happening.
That's
I'm
right.
almost like on our website that we need to update.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're alluding to, there is a speaking engagement tab up on theMasonicRoundtable.com. So go over to www.theMasonicRoundtable.com and go click on speaking engagements, and maybe we'll update it on all these new events that have just popped up. So yeah, that'd be fun. We'd love to see you. Over to me. Final thoughts, shameless plugs. Do want to thank Art Monk and Indiana Bryan for their super chats tonight over on YouTube. We appreciate the love, and glad you find the show valuable. We've had fun getting things off our chest tonight, but it's really in good fun because most of these tonight were really nitpicks, right? We love the fraternity. That's why we've been doing this for 5 years plus, and so it's just about making one of our mottos is we take good men and make them better. Well, we're taking a good fraternity and we're making it better by airing the grievances around the Festivus pole and making sure that through the feats of strength, we establish a better fraternity leading us into the future. So that's all I got. Thank you very much for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.